Okay. We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Okay. My bro and I, once again, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. So we thought, in honor of Memorial Day, we should discuss those that are no longer with us. And I thought about better to discuss right now than Marvin Gaye.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Gates. Yeah. So, yeah, Russ did a lot of recording with Marvin, so maybe tell somebody, he used to chew gum a lot. Marvin was always
a gum chewer.
Yeah.
He chewed gum no matter what, and even when he sang, especially when he sang, he was chewing gum. And a lot of times, if you, like when I was mixing one of his songs, if I just solo out his...
Explain what soloing is.
Listen to one particular track.
Okay. You got all this music happening. Mm-hmm. If you just want to hear it, you want to listen to Jameson's bass, you would hit solo on his track. That's all you would hear.
That's all you hear.
So he's solo Marvin.
So I'm solo Marvin. To get a sound in his voice and everything, and he'd sing, and then when he'd stop for a second, all I hear is, and he'd start singing again.
Mm-hmm.
So he's chewing gum the whole time he sings, and when he's not singing.
Marvin used to call me at my office every once in a while. I think I put this in the book. He'd call me at my office. Say, Ralph, you going to be in the neighborhood? And that was just, that's how he invited. He wanted me to stop over, but he was very polite. He said, you going to be? Yeah, Marvin. So I go in there, and he's always in his garage in his gray sweats working out. Marvin was a frustrated athlete. And I always said he looked like a running back. He probably would have been a great running back.
Well, Marvin was a great storyteller too.
Yeah.
Loved to talk. I remember one time, this was back in Detroit, he came in to do a vocal, and he wasn't quite in the mood yet, so we just started talking, and we talked for 2-3 hours maybe, just sitting around talking. And he says, I'm not in the mood today. So he left.
Yeah.
And then the next time he came in, same thing, we started talking, and all of a sudden he'd go, I'm ready. And he'd go out into the studio, and he'd
do it.
And he'd do it. He'd lay down a track, and say, give me another track. Put him another track, record him again, he'd do some ad-libs and stuff like that. Boom, he was done.
The story, good.
Yeah, he said he never would rehearse because he wants to be fresh with it and spontaneous with it instead of being programmed.
You think he pulled it off?
I think he did.
Yeah.
But everybody has their way, and that was
his way. I love the story about the intro of what's going on. Fontaine sax.
Oh yeah.
And the deal is Eli Fontaine, the sax player, was in the studio warming up, and Marvin had the tape running, and this guy's just doing these warm-up riffs. And what you hear on the beginning of the record are those warm-up riffs, and Marvin liked what he heard. He stopped the tape. Eli said to Marvin, okay, I'm ready to go. And Marvin said, you're done. And Eli walked out of the studio, and there's the opening riffs to what's going on. But you got to tell them, though, because it's a great story. Marvin recording with Diana Ross. We all know that there was not a lot of love lost between the two. They bickered, and there was, but Marvin was Marvin, and Diana is Diana.
So,
and anyway.
So we're going to do this. The project finally came, and we're going to do a duo album together. And so the tracks were cut, and we're getting ready to do vocals. So the first vocal date, we're going to have Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross together singing. Barry Gordy comes in with his entourage, and so it's quite active.
Is this L.A. or Detroit?
This is L.A. This is in L.A. Yeah. So we're getting ready to get started, and Marvin's out in the studio sitting down getting ready, and Diana and everybody else is in the control with us. And then Diana goes out to go in the studio. She comes back in all in a huff, saying, Barry, Marvin's smoking a joint right now, and I can't sing. I'm pregnant, and I can't sing right now with him smoking a joint. So Barry says, okay, I'll see what I can do. He gets on the talkback mic, and you have to imagine Marvin. Marvin sitting in his chair smoking a joint. Cool as he could be,
Marvin smokes weed.
He loves to smoke weed before he sings. So Barry gets on the talkback mic and says, Marvin, Diana doesn't want you to be smoking any marijuana right now because she's pregnant. And so we get going. So that's up, and Marvin's sitting there, and he's taking a drag, and he kind of looks up and he goes, then I can't sing. You can hear a pin drop in the control room. Everybody just froze, So Barry said, now what's Barry going to do?
Yeah, Barry on the spot.
On the spot. I'm standing right next to the guy. So you got Diana by the door, fuming, and here's Marvin smoking a joint, you know, so I start talking to Barry about something, and we were kind of just stalling because we know once Marvin was done, he would be done, you know. So, and the situation could get back to normal. You know? So finally he finished, and then we did do the date, and it was it came out good, you know, for the first song. We did one song that day, but from the rest of the album, they didn't sing together. Marvin would come in at a particular time and lay down a couple of songs on, you know, on his
and
and he'd do the full song, and then Diana would come in and do it, you know, do it by herself.
Would she do the full song?
She did the full song.
And then
too.
you would pick and choose.
So when I mixed the album, then I'd say, well, I'll give Marvin the first verse.
Yeah.
I'll give the chorus to both of them. Then I'll give Diana the second verse. Whatever.
Feeling of power.
So when the album came out, it was, you know, it was a good hit album.
Which album was it?
Diana and Marvin, I think it was called. Something like that.
Yeah. Gee, that just sounds.
But the comments were, they sound like they're so much in love.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, right. Marvin and his weed. Well, remember John Corsi? John Corsi was the guy. He was the head of security at Detroit Motown. Yeah. And there really was a company rule. No weed or anything like that. Never happened.
Never a mixing room either.
I remember, right. The mixing room would turn blue. We ought to send this video to Mom.
No.
So anyway, but there was a rule, and so we tried to be as discreet as possible. Those that wished to partake, we never did.
No.
And I remember I think you told me, because I don't think I saw it, I think you told me, like, Marvin's in Studio A control room rolling a joint as John Corsi walks by. Marvin goes, "Hi, John." You didn't care.
No. Especially Marvin. What are you going to do with Marvin?
Yeah. So I don't know. I remember Marvin. Marvin used to call me, right? I remember he calls me one time. He's going to be repairing at the Gordy Mansion. And, you know, Marvin was kind of shy, which most people don't realize. He had stage fright. You know, he had his, which he really covered it well when he performed. But he calls me up. I'm in my office. He calls me up and says, "Ralph, you got to do me a favor." And I says, "What? What do you want me to do?" And he was appearing at the Gordy Mansion that night for whatever was going on. And he says, "Go over to the Gordy Mansion and see where they've got the piano on stage." He says, "I know it's going to be front center, and you know where I want it. Marvin always liked to be back, stage right, or to your left, into the back, almost like he was part of the band." I mean, because that's how Marvin operated. He was like a musician, so he was a member of the band singing. He didn't like to be right out in front. So I said, "Okay, Marvin, don't worry, I handle it." You know, so I go, sure enough, there it is, dead center. You know, so I go up to the stage, and I call the stage and says, "Hey, come here a minute. Yes, I want you guys to put that piano." Meanwhile, one of the suits, you know, he comes running over. "What's the problem here? What's the problem here?" You know, and I said, "Piano can't be in front. Marvin doesn't want it there. Let's put it where, you know, where I'm pointing." And the guy said, "You know," he was adamant, "No, it's got to stay there." You know, so I pulled my ace card. I pulled up my hole card. I says, "Let's call Marvin." Guess how fast the piano got moved.
Oh, it got moved really fast.
Yeah. Well, Marvin was a great guy. He really was.
He was
just a wonderful guy. I feel really privileged that he thought of me as a friend.
Yeah.
That he would call me to just talk and say, "Come on over." And I would go over to his house, and he'd ask me if I wanted a steak, and we'd sit in his kitchen and just sometimes I don't even remember what we talked about. You know. He was
Marvin loved to talk.
Yeah,
he's a great conversation.
A wonderful guy, just a wonderful. I was so shocked when I heard, you know, they had been shot. You know, I was in my car. Yeah.
I couldn't go.
Oh, I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah,
you know?
that's a shame.
Yeah, but anyway, so this is to Marvin. Wait a minute, I got my note here. Hold on.
I got my orange juice.
To Marvin.
Hey.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off now, and we're going to hope we got all this.
Yeah, watching that, better record.
Yeah.